Shifting focus now to Brexit, where Prime Minister Boris Johnson is announcing his latest Brexit plan that will be presented to Brussels. Let's listen in.
Because we're Conservatives and we get on with serving the people of this country. And speaking of service, I should begin by paying tribute to my predecessor, Theresa May. I know the whole conference remains full of gratitude to you and to Philip May for your patience and your forbearance. And yes, we will continue with your work of tackling domestic violence and modern slavery and building on your legacy. I've been Prime Minister for only 70 days, but I've seen so many things that give me cause for hope. Hospitals that are finally getting the investment to match the devotion of the staff. Schools where standards of reading are rising through the use of synthetic phonics. Police colleges where idealistic young men and women are enrolling in large numbers now to fight crime across the country. Shipyards in Scotland that are building superb modern Type 26 frigates for sale around the world. And every one of those high-wage, high-skilled jobs in shipbuilding, in government, is a testament to the benefits of belonging to the United Kingdom. The most successful political partnership in history, which we will protect and defend against those who would wantonly destroy it. And I say to Ruth Davidson as well, thank you, Ruth, for everything you did and have done for the cause of conservatism in Scotland, and we will honour your legacy too. And I'm proud of the role that this government is playing in every one of those investments. And of course, they are only possible because it was this Conservative government that tackled the debt and the deficit left behind by the last Labour government. It was because we cleared up the wreckage they left behind that we now have record employment, wages rising the fastest for 10 years, and we have record foreign direct investment of £1.3 trillion, more than any other country in the EU. So we have so many reasons to be confident about our country and its direction, and yet I feel sometimes we're like a world-class athlete with a pebble in our shoe. There is one part of the British system that seems to be on the blink. If Parliament were a laptop, then the screen would be showing, I'm afraid, the pizza wheel of doom. If Parliament were a school, Ofsted would be shutting it down or putting it in special measures. If Parliament were a reality TV show, then the whole lot of us, I'm afraid, would have been voted out of the jungle by now. But at least we'd have had the consolation of watching the Speaker being forced to eat a kangaroo testicle. The sad truth is that voters have more say. Voters have more say over I'm a celebrity than they do over this House of Commons, which refuses to deliver Brexit, refuses to do anything constructive, and refuses to have an election. Just at the moment, when voters are desperate for us to focus on their priorities, we're continuing to chew the super-masticated subject of Brexit, when what people want, what Leavers want, what Remainers want, what the whole world wants, is to be calmly and sensibly done with the subject and to move on. And And that is why we are coming out of the EU on October the 31st, come what may. Conference. Let's get Brexit done. We can, we must, and we will, even though things have not been made easier by the surrender bill. We will work for a deal with our EU friends, but whatever happens, we must come out by the end of October. Let's get this thing done, and then let's get ready to make our case to the country against the fratricidal anti-Semitic Marxists who were in Brighton last week. Last week, Jeremy Corbyn had a number of damaging and retrograde ideas in his speech. He wants a 4-day week, which would slash the wages of people on low incomes. He wants to ban private schools and expropriate their property, even though it would cost the taxpayer £7 billion to educate the kids. He wants to stamp out excellence in schools by banning Ofsted, the inspectors who ensure that schools are safe for our children. But he had one good idea. He had a whole paragraph repeating what he has said every week for the last 3 years. He wants an election now. or that is what he was going to say. Poor fellow. The only trouble is that the paragraph was censored by John McDonnell or possibly Keir Starmer, so we have the astonishing spectacle of the leader of the opposition gagged and prevented by his colleagues from engaging in his constitutional function, which is to try to remove me from office. And in this age of creative litigation, I'm surprised that no one has yet sued him for breach of contract. Though it now appears that the SNP may try to bundle him toward the throne, like some Konstantin Chernenko figure. Look it up. Reluctantly propelled to office in a Kremlin coup, so that they can get on with their programme of total national discord, turning the whole of 2020, which should be a great year for this country, into the chaos and cacophony of 2 more referendums. A second referendum on Scottish independence, even though the people of Scotland were promised that the 2014 vote would be a once-in-a-generation decision, and a second referendum on the EU. I mean, can you imagine another 3 years of this? But that is the Corbyn agenda. Stay in the EU beyond October the 31st, paying £1 billion a month for the privilege, followed by years of uncertainty for business and everyone else. As for the Lib Dems, their idea of serving the national interest was to write to Jean-Claude Juncker, urging him not to give this country a better deal. Well, when the leader of the Liberal Democrats has called for a second referendum while pledging to campaign against the result. It's time to respect the Trade Subscriptions Act, my friends, and take the word Democrat out of Liberal Democrats. I'm afraid... After 3 years... After 3.5 years, people are beginning to feel that they are being taken for fools, and they're beginning to suspect that there are forces in this country that simply don't want Brexit delivered at all. And if they turn out to be right in that suspicion, then I believe there will be grave consequences for trust in our democracy. Let's get Brexit done on October the 31st. Let's get it done because of the opportunities that it will bring, not just to take back control of our money and our borders and our laws, to regulate differently and better, to take our place as a proud and independent global campaigner for free trade. Let's get it done because delay is so pointless and expensive and debilitating. Let's get it done because we need to build our positive new partnership with the EU. Because it cannot be stressed too much that this is not an anti-European party. This is not an anti-European country. We are European. We love Europe. I love Europe anyway. I love it. But after 45 years of really dramatic constitutional change in our relationships, we must have a new relationship with the EU, a positive and confident partnership, and we can do it. And today in Brussels, we are tabling what I believe are constructive and reasonable proposals, which provide a compromise for both sides. We will, under no circumstances, have checks at or near the border in Northern Ireland. We will respect the peace process and the Good Friday Agreement. And by a process of renewable democratic consent by the Executive and the Assembly of Northern Ireland, we will go further and protect the existing regulatory arrangements for farmers and businesses on both sides of the border. And, at the same time, we will allow the UK, whole and entire, to withdraw from the EU with control over our own trade policy from the start. And we will protect our precious union between Great Britain and Northern Ireland. And yes, this is a compromise by the UK, and I hope very much that our friends understand that and compromise in their turn. Because if we fail to get an agreement because of what is essentially a technical discussion on the exact nature of future customs checks, when that technology is improving the whole time, then let us be in no doubt, conference, of what the alternative is. The alternative is no deal. And that is not an outcome we want. It is not an outcome we seek at all. But let me tell you, my friends, it is an outcome for which we are ready. Are we ready for it? Yes, we are. Are we determined to resolve this? Yes, we are. Let's get Brexit done by October the 31st, because we have to get on and deliver on the priorities of the people. To answer the cry of those 17.4 million who voted for Brexit, because it is only by delivering Brexit that we can address that feeling in so many parts of the country that they've been left behind, ignored, that their towns were not only suffering from a lack of love and investment, but their views had become somehow unfashionable or unmentionable. And let's get Brexit done for those millions who may have voted Remain, but who are first and foremost Democrats. And who accept the result of the referendum and want to get on. And when I say that I want us to work together now to bring this country together, of course you're entitled, it's the first time I've spoken to you as party leader and Prime Minister at this conference, you're entitled to ask about my core principles and the ideals that drive me and are going to drive me as your Prime Minister. And I'm going to follow the example of my friend Sajid Javid, who gave a brilliant speech. I'm going to quote that supreme authority in my family, my mother. And I know that there are some keen students of alleged divisions in my family on matters of the EU. But I want you to know, conference, that I have kept my ace up my sleeve. My mother voted leave. And my mother... It's true. My mother taught me one thing. She taught me many things, but she taught me to believe strongly in the equal importance, the equal dignity, and the equal worth of every human being on the planet. And now, that may sound banal. That may sound banal. That may sound trite. But it is not. It is not. You have to understand that and believe in that. And there is one institution in this country that sums up that idea. The NHS is holy to the people of this country because of the simple beauty of its principle. That it doesn't matter who you are or where you come from, but when you are sick, the whole country figuratively gathers at your bedside and does everything it can to make you well again. And everybody pays to ensure that you have the best doctors and the best nurses and the most effective treatments known to medical science. And after 70 years, the results are, on the whole, amazing. When I was a kid, the word cancer was a death knell. Heart attack was a terrifying thought. Well, we are slowly beating back the legions of disease. This country has seen the fastest falls in breast cancer in Europe, but we have so much more to do. On Monday, I went to the North Manchester General Hospital, and I saw the incredible work that they are doing with maxillofacial reconstructive surgery on people who only a decade ago would have been probably permanently disfigured by their traumas. People for whom hope and confidence is so important. And I talked to the patients, every one of them bursting with praise for the staff, for their energy and care. But that conference, that fantastic hospital, was built in 1876 to serve the workhouse. And we were walking down long, narrow Nightingale wards that were designed by the pioneer of nursing. And as one of the managers told me, it's asking professionals to work in that environment is like asking a Premiership footballer to play on a ploughed field. And so I was proud to tell them that under this government, we will totally rebuild that hospital. And thanks to the work of Health Secretary Matt Hancock, we're not only recruiting more doctors and nurses and training them, but in the next 10 years we will build 40 new hospitals in the biggest investment in hospital infrastructure for a generation. Because after 70 years of the existence of the NHS, 44 of them under a Conservative government, it is time for us to say, loud and clear, we are the party of the NHS. And I claim that title. I claim that title because it is our one-nation conservatism that has delivered and will deliver the economic growth that makes those investments possible. And it is we Conservatives, too, who will solve the problems of social care and end the injustice that means so many people have to sell their home to pay for their old age. And if you ask me, how are we going to do it? How are we going to pay for it all? How are we going to grow the UK economy? I will tell you, it is by raising the productivity of the whole of the UK, not with socialism, not with the deranged and ruinous plans borrowed from the playbook of Bolivarian revolutionary Venezuela, but by creating the economic platform for dynamic, free market capitalism. Yes. You heard that right. When did you last hear a Tory leader talk about capitalism? We are the party of the NHS precisely because we are the party of capitalism, not because we shun it or despise it. And we understand the vital symmetry at the heart of the modern British economy between a dynamic enterprise culture and great public services. And I, of course, I've seen that formula in action for a long time myself. Now, who comes from London? Hands up. It's all right. Who lives there? Don't worry, no disgrace. I used to be mayor there. It's one of the fantastic place, greatest city on earth. And it's one of the many astonishing things about our nation's capital. It is the most productive region in the whole of Europe. for lots of reasons. In 1863, amongst other things, we were the first place to think of putting trains in tunnels and that kind of thing. And yet there are many other regions of the country that are far less productive. And that represents not just an injustice, though of course it does, but a massive opportunity. Because I believe that talent and genius and chutzpah are evenly distributed.
We will take a very short breather here at the stage, but more coming up on the other side.